So here we are. When we started to show what we're doing here, it's a big project. It's a big project for us. We often look at what we're doing and think, did we do that? And I really wanted to talk about that because it brings in an absolute avalanche of comments which question our ability to handle money. In other words, well, you got yourself loaded up with a big project there. How on earth are you going to finish it? And of course, they're correct. But let's just look at the subject of money. Now, one of the big criticisms of me especially, and therefore by association Beth, is that we haven't handled money very well, because we're actually very short of money right now. This is not a begging video. We don't do those for ourselves. But we're eating very, very simply, as our grocery shopping videos will attest. But what we are doing is we are living according to our means. Now, that was one of the criticisms that was leveled at us before by someone who said, that, I'm paraphrasing now, but I have every right to criticize you because I am a person who lives within their means. Now, I'm assuming a lot here, but let's assume that we are talking about someone who is living within their means in America. So, what's the average American living within their means? That would mean that their paycheck covers their expenses. So, what are their expenses, I wonder? Well, let's not go into what the phone costs and what the insurance costs and what a payment costs. Let's just say that the average American has a credit card, and that credit card carries a balance. And the balance, depending on how they are handling their living within their means, can be an absolute time bomb. Let's look at what having a credit card really means. Now, these are people, of course. There are some who will be able to say honestly that they have credit cards. More than one is a norm. More than one, and they have credit cards which they pay a little more than the required amount. That deadly phrase, pay the minimum amount. The minimum amount. Now, if with a credit card you pay a minimum amount, it means that it may take, even for a fairly modest sum of money, it will take you perhaps 20 years of paying the minimum amount, if ever you will get that paid. Now, let's look at a brief look, and not too detailed, because you can go online and you can have a look at various programs which have really gone into the whole thing about credit cards, and they've done it very well. And it is, I must say, it's a horror story, believe me. So, you get your credit card. Now, of course, you're going to be very astute, and you're going to know that there are some credit cards which actually charge a fee to have that credit card. So they're going to charge a fee. Well, if you're a very clever guy, which you obviously are, you're not going to pay a fee. Why? Well, because there are plenty of credit cards that don't charge a fee and don't charge you any interest for the first, say, 6 months or something. This is certainly a terrific deal. So you go for, let's assume that you've gone for something that has no fee, and doesn't charge you any interest for the first few months. Let's look at how they operate. It would be lovely to think that they are like your uncle or your favourite grandpa who will do anything for you and never think of charging you any kind of fee at all. But that may be not quite true with the credit card companies. Now they're in business. I just watched an interview with the man who started a company called Providium. When I was in the UK, I had a Providian credit card. Oh my, what a revelation that was when I listened to what this man, who was the CEO and creator of Providian, had to say before he resigned, and now lives in a palace that was actually designed and built to emulate, if not completely copy, emulate the White House. So, when they offer a credit card for no fee, where are they? Are they giving you that money? Well, not quite. They're not quite giving you anything, because what they do is they increase the charges. Now, what rules do the credit card companies operate on? Virtually none. They can do anything they want. For instance, if you have ever gone over your limit, there's a fee. If you're a late fee, if you're late on a payment, there's a fee. Now, to give you an idea how things can mount up so easily, I sat next to a young lady in a waiting room, probably a dentist, and she looked outside and she said, "I can see a truck there, it's parked on the wrong side of the road, is it yours?" I said, "Yes, it is." She said, "You really should go out and point it in the right direction on the right side of the road, because if it gets towed, you may end up losing it." "How could I possibly lose it?" I asked her. She said, "Well, that's what happened to me." She said, "My car was towed, and it was towed on," I'm just going from memory on what she said now, putting it together as a story, as a true story, based on truth. Her car was towed away, and it was taken to an impound pound, a car pound, right? Now, she couldn't get to it to take it away until the weekend. So it was towed away, say, on a Thursday. On Friday, she was still at work and couldn't get there by the time that they closed. So she had to leave it till Saturday. When she got there on Saturday, it was closed and she couldn't get it. Sunday, it was closed. Monday, she wasn't able to get there because she had an important meeting at work and couldn't forego that. So Tuesday, she arrives. By this time, to cut a story short, she had incurred so many fees: late, storage, impound, towing, and the clamp which was put on prior to that. All of these things are not free. They're all done by a private company who makes very good money on doing this service to the government. So, by the time she got there, this is just a working girl driving a used car that's not worth a huge amount of money except to her. And she has incurred so many fees that she's not able to get the car back. And the car is then confiscated. It's sent to an auction house, and the auction house auctions that car to the highest bidder, which is usually a used car dealer. And these dealers go to these things and they'll buy 4 or 5 cars that have been impounded. And there will be, I attended one of these in LA, and there was even a Porsche. There was a Porsche that was being auctioned. So it's not just the people who are operating very close to the mark who do this. So what happens once this has occurred? you've gone over your balance. Let's say you get a card and they give you a $500 limit. So you get a couple of things, but then something happens at work and you're not able to get into work and you don't get paid for 3 days. So now you're relying on the credit card. And you very quickly get to, say, $480 of your 500. But you don't have that or can't get to it, and for some reason you're late. So now you have a late fee, but you don't just have a late fee, you have an over the limit fee, because your balance, your new balance was 485, which leaves you 15 that gets you to your limit. But they can charge you, some companies, depending on the company, they can charge you $35 or $36, $38 for being over the limit, which you are as soon as you pay your late fee, which is also $20, $25, $30, $40. So now, what do? Well, you're late and you're over the limit. So these things escalate very, very quickly if you're in trouble. Well, let's get back to the smart pants who never goes late because he knows exactly what it's for, and he never goes over his limit. And he always pays off his bank. Well, we're not really talking about those people, are we? Talking about people like you and me who may get in trouble, who may lose their job. Well, I'm past that now, of course, because I'm retired. But at the same time, I have a budget which I must operate within. And sometimes things go wrong. As for instance, when I messed up my ATM card and I couldn't get the money from my pension. So I didn't have the money. Now, if I'd had a credit card, I wouldn't have been able to meet that payment, that late, and I would incur a late charge. And if I was operating close to the mark, I would actually be into the same cycle of debt as I've just described. Anybody who's, say, going with a $500 limit, they get to $485 when they would have paid it and were unable to for some reason, got the late fee, and then when they add the late fee onto your $485, you're now over the limit, and so on. And so it goes. And if, for instance, the thing that prevents you from paying is loss of job, now, how are you ever going to be able to pay? And you're not. Now we get to the kind of customer that the credit card companies love. You're lying in the road and you're bleeding and they love you. You can't make the payments. You're over your limit. You have no way to pay, and the debt mounts almost daily if you're that unlucky. Now, so how do you do it? Now, when I came to the Philippines, our haters love to say, when he came to the Philippines, he had $2,000. He had nothing. As my mother would have said, he had no arse in his trousers. And that's what would be the biggest criticism. Now, I had then a series of good fortunes, but I made some good decisions. As limited as my talent for handling money is, I do have one rule, and that is no debt. No debt. You save, you pay for what you can, and what you can't pay for, you go without. And that includes food. If you don't have the ability to pay for a fancy meal in a fancy restaurant, you go to a Candelaria, like we do often here. You eat. This morning, I had breakfast, I had rice and a can of baked beans. I'm not proud of that, other than I am proud of the fact that we live really within our means. Now, why are we living within our means when obviously we've got this great white elephant that people are pointing at and saying, you can never get your money back. You can never, how can you afford to pay it? Why aren't you relaxing in a rocking chair somewhere instead of splashing out all of that money? And the other people who have not looked at what we've been doing for 10 years. For 10 years we've been often having breakfast of beans and rice, and we have lived way modestly in order to have what we have. 10 years of working 24/7. It's all down to luck, as some people say, oh yeah, you were very lucky. You must have scammed that from somewhere. The famous quote I always remember is that a person will accuse you of doing what they would do if they were in your position. But we didn't do that. People were shocked when we bought a Raptor. But the ones that were shocked were the ones that just looked in and saw one video. The ones that had been with us for years and had watched us dig our truck out of the mud on the way up to the house and have another repair to count for, said, that's good. You finally got something that's not going to break down. Now, when we were riding away, we were driving away in our Raptor, which we could barely believe that we'd bought for cash. I said to Beth, one of the greatest things about our driving away in this is that no one can take it away from us. Now, there may be tyrannical governments that may prove me wrong on that, who knows. But in the normal run of things, we don't owe any money on that, so therefore it can't be repossessed. The repo man that you see has a running channel on YouTube is never coming to our house. So where was I lucky? I was lucky in that I met my lovely wife, my warrior princess. We agreed right at the start, no debt. If we couldn't afford it, we wouldn't buy it. Now, we had one exception. There's always an exception to the rule. We bought a motorcycle because we couldn't keep walking. We bought a motorcycle and we paid it off in either 6 months or a year. And we said we'd never do anything like that again, as far as I remember. So, we may even have bought that scrappy little red pickup truck. But I think that we kept to our promise to each other, and then we both knuckled down and got down to work. And that's the thing. So now, really living within our means is this. We have this white elephant, which will be finished in time as we earn the money to complete the repairs. As you can see, we're getting very well on and doing fine, and had the lights on, and it was wonderful to see that there. We own what we have. It's in our possession. We own it. No one can take it. Someone said, an American probably, or a Brit, said, why don't you get a loan and finish the project so that you could start earning money? Now, if it all goes well, it's like a credit card, isn't it? If it all goes well, it all goes wonderfully. But if it doesn't go wonderfully, it goes really badly. And then people with powers greater than yours will come and take it away from you. We have no debt. We have no credit cards. We have 2 modest pensions, and we work for what we earn. Which brings me to, why would we do what we do? I'm getting on, as you can probably see. I have a few years on my clock, and I want to make sure that the family that I leave behind is well taken care of. And when this place, which is getting closer and closer by the day to finish, and to be able to rent out rooms like a small hotel, it will bring in income. It's an investment in the future of my family, the family that I hope I won't be leaving behind too soon, but there'll be no crippling debts. It may have to have money invested, to have money earned and invested in it, but we did okay so far, and we'll continue to do that. Now, if you are there and you are the person that said, I live within my means, look in the mirror and say honestly that you don't have a mortgage. You have a mortgage? Do you have a car payment? Do you have any accounts for which you don't actually have the ability to pay them off today? You have a car payment? Exactly what are you able to pay for today? And this is the bitter question. How many paychecks are you away from losing all that you have? Now, tell me that you're living within your means. My friend, who used to be known as the man without a shirt, Sean, came and stayed with us. He's a subscriber and a friend. And he came, and his definition of the fact that he is rich, he has a modest income on which he can live, his house is paid for, his car is paid for, and he has no debts. He says he's rich. And that's pretty well a good definition that works for me too. I hope for those of you who are interested will listen to this tape and apply what I've said to you, because it's a method that's not hard. It's not hard to see as being a sensible method, but it's not easy to do. So please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you share, artificial intelligence will share it also with other people, and that will help us to remain within our means. Bye for now.